Hey, Celtics fans, gather around because we need to talk about some of the wildest moves and rumors floating around the NBA right now. And it all starts with Malik Monk. I don't know if you've been paying attention to what's been going on in Sacramento, but it's honestly starting to get bizarre. The Kings are going out of their way to get rid of him. And if you just step back and look at the situation, it's almost comical. I mean, this is a player who, not too long ago, was finishing second in Sixth Man of the Year voting. He's the kind of spark plug that can change a game in minutes, the kind of player who comes off the bench and instantly makes a team better. And yet, Sacramento seems to be treating him like he's a burden, like he's some kind of problem they need to dump at all costs. Let's break down what Malik Monk actually brings to the table. Career averages don't exactly scream superstar. 12 points, 2 rebounds, and about 3 assists per game. But that doesn't tell the real story. Last season, he stepped up in a huge way, playing 65 games and averaging 17 points, 6 assists, and nearly 4 rebounds. He shot 43% from the field, 32% from 3, and an impressive 86% from the free throw line. Those numbers don't just show efficiency, they show versatility. He can score, he can facilitate, and he can give a team a boost without needing 35 minutes a night. And what's even crazier is that he's been consistently productive in limited minutes, averaging 15 points per game in just 26 minutes the year before. That's the kind of impact that teams dream of: efficiency, energy, and reliability all rolled into one. Now, if you're thinking about bringing Monk into a team like the Celtics, it's a little tricky because of roster composition. With Anthony Simons and Peyton Pritchard already on the squad, adding Monk might feel a bit redundant. You're not going to start him, and there's a question about how much playing time he could realistically carve out. But when you look at the numbers from a contract perspective, suddenly it starts to feel like a deal worth considering. For the upcoming season, he's set to make $18.7 million, then $20 million the following year, and the final year, which is a player option, comes in at $21 million. That's a manageable range for a player of his caliber, especially if you're looking at him as a bench piece who can provide instant offense and maintain rhythm for your starters. What's even more fascinating here is the contrast with the Westbrook situation. Sacramento, for some reason, seems obsessed with bringing Russell Westbrook back into the mix. Let me just remind you, we're in 2025. Westbrook, if we're honest, isn't the MVP caliber player he was a decade ago. He had some decent numbers off the bench with Denver last season. 13 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists in 27 minutes per game. But his turnovers were a problem, and his defense is no longer reliable at high level. And yet, the Kings are reportedly willing to move Malik Monk, a younger, more efficient player, to make room for him. It's almost hard to comprehend what they're thinking. Are they really looking at their playoff chances and thinking, yeah, Westbrook is the guy to get us there? The logic doesn't really hold up, and it's making fans scratch their heads everywhere. But stepping back from the Kings, let's consider what this could mean for the Celtics if Monk were somehow in play. He's not a starter, and he's not a player you build your team around. But as a sixth man, he's exactly the kind of player that can make a contending team stronger. He's the type of guy who can come in, create his own shot, facilitate, and keep a second unit moving at a high pace. Think Lou Williams in his prime with the Clippers. Someone who can change the game off the bench, who could take over stretches, and who doesn't need the ball every second he's on the floor to be effective. If you're a team looking to maximize depth and maintain high-level production throughout the game, that's incredibly valuable. And the fact that Sacramento seems so eager to get rid of him could potentially make him a bargain, depending on how negotiations play out. It's also worth noting that there were rumors about Golden State being interested in a deal for Monk, possibly moving Jonathan Kuminga in some kind of swap. That didn't happen, and now it feels like the entire league is caught in a holding pattern because of a few key restricted free agents and teams unwilling to make moves. But back to Monk, the intrigue isn't just about his numbers or efficiency. It's about timing. If you can get a player like him for a reasonable contract, he can instantly upgrade a playoff-caliber team without asking them to sacrifice major assets. The window for impact is immediate, and in the current NBA, where depth and bench production are often the difference between a first-round exit and a deep playoff run, that's incredibly valuable. Meanwhile, Russell Westbrook's narrative is moving in a completely different direction. He's talking about possibly retiring if he doesn't end up on a team he wants, specifically somewhere on the West Coast. That's a player at the tail end of his career, looking for a particular situation rather than trying to maximize team success or competitive fit. His stats over the last season were decent for a role player. 13 points, 6 assists, 5 rebounds. But his defensive liabilities and high turnover rate make him a questionable piece in today's faster, more analytics-driven game. And when you compare that to Malik Monk, it really highlights how strange Sacramento's strategy seems. Off the court, there's been some darker news that has nothing to do with basketball, but still shakes the Celtics community. Jaylen Brown's father, Marcellus Brown, was recently arrested in a serious incident involving a youth football coach. While Jaylen himself is obviously not involved, and this doesn't directly affect his play on the court, it's still a sobering reminder that players' families can face challenges and public scrutiny at any time. It's the kind of story that makes you pause and remember that the athletes we follow are people with lives beyond the hardwood. Hopefully, the situation resolves without further escalation, but it's something that fans are watching closely because, in some way, it does touch the Celtics family. Shifting back to brighter news, Jason Tatum's Achilles recovery is progressing better than expected. He's out of the boot, back in motion, and checking off rehab milestones that suggest we might see him return sooner than anticipated. Historically, this type of injury has been devastating, often limiting athleticism and forcing players to adapt their game. But with advances in modern sports medicine and rehabilitation, we could be witnessing a kind of Tommy John surgery moment for basketball. Think of how Kevin Durant managed to return after a similar injury, slowly regaining his full skill set while adjusting to new physical realities. Tatum, being younger and entering recovery quickly, might come back as one of the most interesting cases in recent NBA history. Someone who could regain or even exceed his previous explosiveness while still protecting his body. Now, if we pivot to the Celtics roster and trade dynamics, things get even more interesting. The team is juggling a delicate balance between staying competitive and managing their payroll, especially with the luxury tax looming over every decision. It's a situation that forces the front office to weigh short-term gains against long-term sustainability, and for fans, it creates a mix of excitement and anxiety. You have contracts like Sam Hauser's, which are attractive to other teams, sitting at around $10 million per year over the next 4 seasons. That's a number that suddenly makes him highly tradable if the Celtics want to create space or acquire a player who can fill a more pressing need. Expiring contracts like Anthony Simons add another layer because they're short-term assets that can be leveraged to bring in someone who can contribute immediately without creating future headaches. But beyond the math, it's also about fit and chemistry. The Celtics have a roster with a certain identity: high-paced offense, structured defense, and a reliance on versatile wings who can create off the dribble. Bringing in a player like Malik Monk or even someone like Josh Giddey changes that dynamic. Giddey's late-season performance was electric, his three-point shooting above 40%, his ability to stretch the floor, and his knack for creating scoring opportunities made him a noticeable impact player. But it's tricky because Chicago's schedule and matchups during that stretch arguably inflated some of his numbers. The Bulls were playing teams who weren't competing at full intensity, and that helped pad stats. Still, the flashes of brilliance can't be ignored. And if Boston can snag someone like Giddey at a reasonable price, it could be a move that boosts the bench dramatically, providing that second unit spark that helps close games and maintain energy when the starters rest. Meanwhile, discussions around players like Anthony Simons and Peyton Pritchard continue to be heated. Fans argue about who has the higher ceiling, who brings more upside, and who fits better into the Celtics' long-term vision. Simons has an expiring deal, which gives flexibility, but Pritchard offers continuity and a reliable rotational presence. These debates highlight the complexity of roster construction in the modern NBA. It's not just about talent. It's about timing, contracts, and the intangible chemistry that can make or break a team's playoff chances. Every move has ripple effects, and sometimes the smartest decision isn't the flashiest one. Adding to that, we have the element of restricted free agency slowing down league-wide movement. Key pieces like Ben Simmons, Al Horford, and Russell Westbrook are all in limbo, which makes teams cautious. The ripple effect is massive. One unresolved contract or pending decision can delay multiple other moves because no one wants to commit until they know where the market is and what other teams are doing. For the Celtics, that means patience is critical. Jumping too early could lead to overpaying or misaligning with long-term goals, but waiting too long risks missing out on a player who could be a perfect fit. It's a tightrope walk, and the front office has to navigate it with precision, balancing fan expectations, roster needs, and financial realities. Then there's the chemistry factor. The Celtics were close to competing for a real playoff run last season, and the subtle shifts in the lineup can make or break momentum. We saw this in the postseason debates over players like Kata, Torrey Craig, and Luke Kornet. Fans are passionate, and the comments reflect the diversity of opinions on who should have played and who should have been prioritized. Some argue that raw talent like Kata should have been given more minutes, while others insist that Kornet's actual performance on the court made him indispensable. These discussions aren't just idle chatter. They inform how fans perceive trades and free agent signings. Every acquisition, every bench addition gets scrutinized not just for talent, but for how it fits into a broader vision of what the Celtics are trying to achieve. And speaking of acquisitions, the idea of bringing in someone like Malik Monk or Josh Giddey also raises questions about role clarity. Monk, for instance, excels as a sixth man. He's the type of player who thrives in a structured bench role, coming in and immediately contributing scoring and energy. But in Boston, with Simons and Pritchard already in the rotation, how do you manage minutes without causing friction? How do you balance development with immediate competitiveness? These are the questions that will define the front office's strategy over the coming months, and every choice will have consequences when the playoffs roll around. Looking at the bigger picture, these decisions are also part of a broader league trend. Depth and bench scoring have become more valuable than ever. Analytics tell us that a strong second unit is no longer just a nice bonus. It's often the difference between a team that exits in the first round and one that makes a deep playoff run. The Celtics have always emphasized team defense and ball movement, but modern matchups demand players who can create offense independently, keep pressure on the defense, and maintain pace. That's why someone like Monk is intriguing. He's not a starter, but he can change the energy on the floor, create spacing, and take over for a stretch without relying on the main stars to carry the load. Meanwhile, fan reactions continue to shape the narrative. Comments from supporters highlight how emotionally invested the Celtics community is in every potential trade, every signing, and every development in player recovery. Fans debate the merits of veterans versus young talent, immediate competitiveness versus long-term planning, and even the philosophical question of whether the team should prioritize playoffs this season or focus on positioning for a future championship run. The intensity of these discussions speaks to the stakes and the passion surrounding Boston basketball. Every rumor, every tweet, every report sparks hours of analysis and discussion because Celtics fans expect nothing less than excellence, and they know how small decisions can have massive consequences. Fans are watching closely, analysts are dissecting every move, and the narrative continues to evolve. Every decision, whether it's pursuing Monk, signing Giddey, or managing Tatum's recovery, adds another layer to an already intricate story. And as the season approaches, the pressure will only intensify, forcing the Celtics to make moves that could define their success for years to come. The combination of talent evaluation, contract management, chemistry considerations, and fan expectation creates a drama that is every bit as compelling as the games themselves. And it's one of the reasons being a Celtics fan in this era is such a unique experience. But before we continue, please remember to subscribe to the channel and give the video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest news about the Boston Celtics. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments as well. The basketball world has been buzzing with excitement and speculation ever since the news broke that Filipino phenomenon Kai Sotto has signed a 4-year contract with the Boston Celtics, igniting conversations across continents about the potential impact of this young talent on the storied franchise. At 7 foot 3. Sotto's towering presence has already drawn comparisons to some of the game's legendary big men, and Celtics fans are now envisioning the possibilities of integrating his unique skill set into their roster. Rumors have circulated about how Sotto might fit into Boston's offensive schemes, whether as a traditional center dominating the paint or as a versatile, modern big man capable of stretching defenses with perimeter shooting. Sports analysts are speculating that the Celtics may have identified Sotto not merely as a developmental project, but as a future cornerstone of their team, potentially influencing trades, rotations, and even draft strategies. The buzz extends beyond the United States, as Filipino basketball enthusiasts have expressed both excitement and curiosity, wondering how Sotto's transition to the NBA will unfold, especially considering the differences in pace, physicality, and competitive intensity. Conversations on social media platforms have exploded, with some fans already comparing him to former Celtics greats, envisioning the young player donning green and white and reshaping the team's identity for years to come. Reports emerging from Boston suggest that the Celtics management sees Sotto as a unique asset capable of bridging the gap between traditional post play and modern, perimeter-oriented basketball. Internally, whispers indicate that Sotto's adaptability and potential for growth were decisive factors in the team's commitment to a long-term deal, reflecting confidence in his work ethic and ability to adjust to the NBA's rigorous demands. Analysts have noted that while Sotto's stats from overseas leagues and international competitions are impressive, the Celtics are betting on his developmental trajectory, hinting at plans for specialized training programs, nutritional guidance, and mentorship from veteran players to accelerate his acclimatization. Rumors also suggest that coaching staff discussions have revolved around optimizing Sotto's minutes without overexposing him to the physical grind of a full NBA season, preserving his stamina and encouraging steady improvement. Basketball insiders are predicting that Sotto's presence might trigger strategic shifts in Boston's game plans, including more pick-and-roll opportunities, enhanced defensive schemes leveraging his rim protection, and faster transition play. The chatter extends to fan forums and sports podcasts, where speculation abounds about which existing Celtics players will mesh with Sotto's style, whether his integration could influence contract negotiations with other stars, and how his cultural impact might resonate, particularly among Filipino fans hungry for representation on basketball's biggest stage. Meanwhile, sports media outlets have been abuzz with conjecture regarding Sotto's immediate role in the Celtics lineup, with some insiders claiming that while he may not start from day one, his development trajectory positions him as a potential centerpiece within 2 to 3 seasons. Discussions have circulated around how the team might balance veteran leadership with nurturing Sotto's raw talent, creating a mentorship dynamic reminiscent of legendary NBA pairings. Speculative reports suggest that Boston's front office has already begun evaluating potential roster moves that could complement Sotto's style, such as acquiring athletic forwards or perimeter shooters who can capitalize on spacing created by his presence in the paint. Fan reaction has been particularly fervent online, with social media platforms flooded with debates over whether Sotto can make an immediate impact or if patience will be key, drawing comparisons to other international players who took years to adapt. Moreover, analysts are dissecting Sotto's performances in previous leagues, noting his footwork, agility, and defensive timing as indicators of his NBA readiness, while also acknowledging areas needing refinement, such as conditioning and perimeter defense against elite athletes. Rumors about potential endorsement deals and media opportunities have also emerged, suggesting that Sotto's marketability could amplify both his personal brand and the Celtics' global reach. Conversations among fans have highlighted excitement not only for his on-court contributions, but also for the symbolic significance of a Filipino athlete taking center stage in one of basketball's most historic franchises, reinforcing the narrative of globalization in the sport. Insiders have further speculated that Sotto's signing could influence future draft strategies and trade considerations for the Celtics, with whispers suggesting that management may adopt a more aggressive approach in acquiring complementary talent to maximize his development. Analysts have also hinted that Sotto's arrival might inspire strategic experimentation during preseason games, testing various rotations and offensive sets designed to leverage his height, shooting range, and defensive presence. Among Celtics enthusiasts, the speculation has sparked comparisons with past international sensations who made transformative impacts on their teams, generating debates about whether SOTTO could follow a similar trajectory or chart a unique path tailored to his distinctive skill set. Rumors have even touched on the possibility of a cultural shift within the team, as the presence of a high-profile international player may encourage broader fan engagement, media attention, and community outreach initiatives, particularly targeting Filipino-American communities. Observers have noted that SOTTO's personality, work ethic, and humility might play a crucial role in his integration, emphasizing the importance of chemistry alongside physical abilities. Sports commentators have also conjectured about the psychological impact of joining a franchise with championship aspirations, wondering whether the pressure will accelerate SOTTO's growth or necessitate careful management to protect his confidence and long-term potential. Fan forums are alive with debate over potential nicknames, jersey numbers, and iconic plays that could define his Celtics tenure, reflecting a combination of hope, curiosity, and speculative excitement surrounding this groundbreaking signing. Adding fuel to the ongoing speculation, whispers in sports circles suggest that SOTTO's signing could trigger increased scouting activity in Southeast Asia, with Celtics executives potentially looking to uncover other high-potential talent inspired by SOTTO's pathway to the NBA. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Boston Celtics, please subscribe to our channel and give the video a like. We always appreciate your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.